Hey everybody, this is my 40-gallon Black Ghost knife fish tank, although we rarely ever see my Black Ghost knife fish, but I do have one in here, and that's what I call the tank regardless. So today we're just going to do a before and after water change video, but I do want to get in here and have a look at the tank before we do the water change a little more thoroughly. I'm probably not going to do a ton of plant removal or anything like that, but this is one of my sort of oddball tanks. I've got a lot of water circulation in here, but no matter what I do, there's never enough, and I don't have a lot of surface agitation, and I don't have any surface skimmer. I've got snails in this tank, and I lost so many of them, and even some small fish, by getting sucked up against the surface skimmer as they were crawling across it, and then the suction, just basically sucked the meat right out of the shell, and no more snails, not to mention that fouls up my filter and everything else. So I've just got the surface skimmer on this tank capped off, and as far as surface agitation goes, all I've really got going on is the spray bar in the back has half of the spray bar is sort of pointing upwards. And it gives me a few little ripples and some, not necessarily what you would call agitation on the surface. There's certainly not enough agitation that you can see any, air bubbles happening or splashing or anything like that. It's just a little bit of ripply action on the surface. And the result is the surface of this tank looks like a swamp. So, I'm not really sure what we're going to do about it today, but we're going to have a look at it at least. So first of all, hopefully you can tell that there's sort of a film that's growing over it. But I've also got that green cyanobacteria looking pond scum. That stuff is just gross. That, I believe, is the hair algae and not any kind of nasty, gross scum. Again, this may look disgusting, but it's not necessarily unhealthy. This is just algal growth, and you get that when you have water and nutrients and light and all that sort of thing. If you look in the back there, look at the flowing, like I've said before, this stuff's called maiden's tresses, and it's a beautiful algae if you look at it from the proper perspective. If you look at it from the aquarist's perspective, it may not be so pretty, but it really is a beautiful algae. It's just getting a little out of control, so I need to get in there, and I'll physically remove as much of that as I can. But you can probably also see that bright green stuff that's in there and sort of starting to grow in sheets across the top of the leaves back there. So that's an issue too. That's definitely the cyanobacteria, and that is something that needs to be addressed. So this tank is probably due for another ChemiClean treatment. All my tanks get, well, not all of my tanks, but most of my tanks, at least once or twice a year, will get treated with that ChemiClean, and it does a great job of cleaning them up for a little while. Of course, just like everything gets dirty, stuff grows back, and eventually I've got to treat it again. It's not a once-in-a-lifetime kind of treatment, but it does do a good job when I treat it. So that's not going to be tonight, but it is going to be in the very near future now that I see that I've got some of that cyanobacteria growing in there. The one thing I may do while I'm in there tonight is add a power head. I bought this for my new waterfall tank. I'll put a link down below to these Coralia Hydor. I'm not sure if it's Hydor Coralia or Coralia Hydor, but I really, really like these. I've been using them for years. I've got them in most of my tanks. This is just about the only power head I use in any tank I've got. And this is a 425-gallon per hour power head. Here's your unboxing video. Look, it's out of the box now. And that's it. That's how big that is, and that's a 425-gallon per hour power head. So that's a little more than 10 times the volume of this tank. I've already got one of these in the back, blowing sort of down and across as I do in most of my tanks, and that kind of keeps the debris off the back and keeps it moving down towards where my filter pickup is down on this end of the tank. But I think I'm going to put another one. I think I'm going to put this one on that back glass facing forward and sort of blowing towards us right up into this corner, which is going to sort of force all this debris out and hopefully get more of a circular sort of flow pattern going here in the tank. Not necessarily going to do a lot to the surface agitation aspect of the tank, but I've got one of these filters, or one of these power heads right here, doing the same thing. And you can see I've got it right near the surface, and all that really gives me is some pretty ripply, sparkly effects in the water. That's the reason that's there, is to give me that little shimmer and twinkle that we can see in there. That is the sole purpose of that power head. I don't really think it does a lot in the way of surface agitation. That air stone in the back and that big power head is where I really get my gas exchange going on in this tank. So again, if I were to take that little 425 gallon per hour power head, which is what we were just looking at, then I were to place that in this tank, say up in the corner, you know, aiming upwards, it'll just do more or less what my spray bar is already doing back there. I don't know how well you can see it or not in the darkness, but I just, you know, maybe not as vigorous as we just saw in my 125, but this is also not a 125, this is a 40. So the little bit of surface agitation or little ripply effect I get back there pretty much is what I'm already getting. So I don't think that's going to do a lot in those regards. I might have to go back to doing a surface skimmer of some sort. I haven't seen a snail in this tank for a little while, so maybe the surface skimmer has finished them all off. I don't know. But getting tired of having that scum all over the surface of the tank, and, you know, we're going to have to start working on it. So anyway, I'm going to get in there. I'm going to do a water change. Not going to mess with the filter or anything. I'm just going to drain the tank a little bit, wipe the glass down, and get some of the stuff that I can sort of mechanically remove with my hands out of there as easily as I can. Then we're going to fill the tank back up. So here is your before, and there's your after. So I was kind of hoping the fish would come out and become a little more active when we shot the second half of this video, but that's how it goes. Sometimes they're still a little stressed out after the water change. Everybody's laying low and hiding. It's been maybe half an hour or something. You can still see some detritus moving around. Some bubbles are still in the tank. But I didn't want to wait too much longer because it's getting late and I wanted to finish this video up. So what I did was not add the new power head. But if you remember a while ago, I had some issues with the temperature in this tank. I thought it was too cold, and I didn't know if the heater was working or not, and I tinkered around with it, and I never really was able to do anything with it. Well, today I actually slid the lid out of the way, and when I was contemplating putting the power head in, I pulled the heater out and was able to adjust the knob a little bit until it clicked and came on. So now it is just turned up enough that it's on. And hopefully that won't raise the water too much. I'm going to write myself a note, if I remember to even write the note, to double check the temperature before I go to bed tonight, but that's only going to be a couple hours from now when the lights go out down here. Actually, the lights are supposed to go out down here in about an hour, but I'm going to leave them on a little late tonight just to check the temperature. Now again, all I did was turn it just enough until it came on and I stopped. So theoretically, I should have turned it just above the threshold of where it is now, which is only going to raise the temperature a degree or two. But we'll see. Now, it does look like I really missed this huge mat of that flowing algae. I'm going to go ahead and get in there and pull that out in a minute. I've seen a few little wisps of that floating around, which, you know, when you get in there and you try to clean it up, you wind up spreading it all over the place, and that's kind of what happened. But this little piece looks like it's connected to some roots or some dead growth on that Java in there. I'm surprised I didn't notice it before, but it's really kind of annoying me now that I've seen it. So that is definitely getting pulled out the moment I stop recording here. I also got in there and removed, in addition to the slimy floating stuff that was all over the back, the Java fern back there, I was able to pull some of the cyanobacteria off of some of the stuff that was back there, and I pulled a bunch of the Java apart, and I was able to get several rhizomes out of there, and I put them in my tank in the other room. So now I'm going to have a lot more Java fern available, and since there's no fish in that tank, I'm going to go ahead and treat it with the ChemiClean, and that'll kill off anything that's, you know, on the plants or anything. So I will have some nice clean Java fern for sale here within the next few days once that ChemiClean does its thing. I don't really know what's on the Java fern that came out of here, but I wouldn't trust it to just say it's going to be fine. It's probably got something growing on it besides just algae. So we'll go ahead and get that treated. Again, I'll have a bunch of that available, so I'll put my email down below if you're interested in Java fern. I also have water sprite and various other plants from time to time that are available. and we'll see what happens from there. So that's it. That's just a wipe down of the glass and a water change and a little bit of plant removal. I didn't mess with the filter. I didn't mess with the power head. I didn't mess with the filter intake or the spray bar or any of that kind of stuff. We just bumped the temperature up probably a degree or two, wiped the glass down, and removed some plants. So there you go, everybody. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget, this one here is my Black Ghost knife fish tank, and I'll see you real soon in the next one.